The following podcast is a Dear Media production.
I'm Michelle Kwan. In 1996, the world was in the midst of a massive cultural movement that saw women finally taking center stage. Nowhere was this shift more apparent than at the 1996 Summer Olympics in Atlanta.
This audience was the loudest thing I have ever heard in my life.
The noise, everybody's cheering, and we see all these USA flags.
It was the most important summer in women's sports history, and team after team after team, the U.S. women kept winning.
Basketball, soccer, softball, gymnastics. I just said, give me mine. Give me mine.
Join me for Dear Media's Summer of Gold, presented by Together. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
She's a lifestyle blogger extraordinaire.
Fantastic.
And he's a serial entrepreneur.
A very smart cookie.
And now Lauren Everts and Michael Bosstick are bringing you along for the ride.
Get ready for some major realness.
Welcome to the Skinny Confidential. Him and her.
Aha!
I love both of what you're saying. First of all, if you're in debt, most people who are in debt, when I ask them what's their rich life, their answer is, I just want to get to zero. It's not inspiring at all, but when you feel like you're underwater, you just want to be able to breathe. Listening to this podcast, I hope, is inspiring rather than depressing, because look, you don't have to fly 8 times a year private, but maybe for you, it's one time in your life, business class.
Welcome back to the Skinny Confidential, Him and Her show. For those of you that are new to the show, my name is Michael Bosstick. I am an entrepreneur and brand builder, most recently the CEO of the Dear Media Podcast Network. Across from me, my wife on her phone, not paying attention to me in the intro of this show, Lauren Everts. Can you please pay attention to me? Please, Lauren, please.
You want me to pay attention so bad because this episode is about money and finances, which is not
money.
My favorite subject in the entire world, which we get into our relationships with money. We actually go kind of personal here.
Yeah. And this was, this guest, Ramith, is a long requested guest, and we've waited to have him on because we wanted to kind of prep this audience and frame out the conversation around personal finance. If you've been listening to this show for a while back, I did a personal finance episode. That was episode number 343, titled How to Achieve Financial Freedom, Invest, Save Money, and Understand Finances, with yours truly. But by no means am I a finance guru. I'm not a financial advisor. I am very clear in that episode that, you should definitely talk to a fiduciary or accountant, somebody who actually is a professional in this space, which Ramith is, and I'll get into that in a second. But that episode was received so well, just us sharing, what we do with our finances, what we would personally advise if we were talking to our younger selves. And, so I was actually pretty surprised because that episode blew the fuck up. It did really well. And I'm not saying that just because it was me. I just think we never really touched on that subject or this subject on this show. And, people are curious.
Maybe it was me listening to it over and over and over so I could nail it into my brain about finances.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is an area that whether you like finances, whether you're a numbers person or not, whether money stresses you out or makes you excited, currency affects all of us. Obviously, money conversations affects everybody. So I just think it's an area that everybody should work to improve on because it's something that brings a lot of stress to people's lives with little understanding.
I like this episode too, you guys, because it's really digestible. I always feel like money conversations can be so overwhelming. And if you're with me, you'll like this episode because he breaks it down very simply and tells you how to make money. It's tangible tips and tricks that you can apply to your own life.
So who is Ramith Sethi? Ramith Sethi is an American personal finance advisor and entrepreneur. He is the author of a New York Times bestselling book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich, which was my first introduction to him. When I read it, I was like, wow, this is really good stuff. It actually led me to read a lot more into the finance world. So it's a really good entry point. Ramith has a very digestible delivery. So with that, Ramith, welcome to the Skinny Confidential, Him and Her show.
This is the Skinny Confidential, Him and Her.
All right. I was telling you, I'm one huge fan. Read your book a while ago. I went into this whole deep dive where I had to read every great finance book. And I think yours is, you're at the top of the heap there. I really enjoyed it. And I think
Thank you.
Other people should. It's easy to digest, right? It's not it's not like a walk down Wall Street or The Intelligent Investor where what the fuck is going on? You throw it away. So huge fan of me. Thank you for coming on the show. I told you we've touched a little bit in finance on this show, but out of the 400 episodes, it's maybe popped up 2 or 3 times. So I think the audience is going to love this. To start, to give context, maybe just give a little bit more background on how you became so interested in the topic of money.
First of all, for everyone listening who thinks I'm going to sit here and lecture you about how you can't afford lattes, let's just get that out the window right now. I think you should buy as many lattes as you possibly want. You want to travel 3 months a year? Great. Let me show you how to do it. I got interested in this because I took my college scholarship money, at least part of it, and I invested it in the stock market thinking I was a genius. And in 1999, everyone was a genius. Very similar to how everybody on YouTube thinks they're a genius right now. You guys are not geniuses. You just have a YouTube channel. And so I lost half that scholarship money, and I realized I needed to learn how money worked. At the same time, I was studying human psychology at Stanford, and I was realizing that most of the advice we get out there is all about restriction. It's no wonder that none of us want to do anything with our money, because all we do is hear some old guy lecturing us, nagging and saying, don't buy lattes, don't go on vacation, and maybe in 80 years you can save up and take a trip to Europe. Like, what kind of life is that? And my friends and I wanted to go out. We wanted to pick up a round of drinks. And then as I got older, my dreams expanded, right? I wanted to take more trips. And so what I learned about money was, first, it's so confusing, right? We have words, HSA, 401k, compound interest, all that stuff. But just like in anything, whether it be fitness or fashion, yeah, there's some technical stuff. Yeah, you can learn it actually probably over the course of a week or two. But a lot of it in money is emotional and psychological. Just think of the phrases that our parents used when we grew up. Actually, I'm curious to hear from both of you. Were there any phrases like, we don't talk about money in this house, or easy come, easy go? Were there any phrases you remember your parents saying growing up about money?
For me, I think money we didn't give it so much energy. Now, that can be a good thing or a bad thing, because my family didn't lead with money. Mm-hmm. That's not what they led with. They really my parents tried to push me to lead with my personality. So it wasn't we couldn't talk about it. We could talk about it all day, but money wasn't the end all be all. I'm very blasé like that though now, which can get me in trouble. So there's pros and cons of that.
What do you mean it can get you in trouble?
I don't have a huge attachment to money. Mm-hmm. I guess I should say this. I like to use money on my time. I have more of an attachment to my time.
But being honest, like, she doesn't, it's not that, I don't think, because that's everybody has some attachment to money because you use it to live, but she's not in the weeds, paying attention to where the money's going, where it's coming from, she tries to opt out of that area of our lives.
And I've also done, even when I wasn't married, I'm not someone who checks my bank account obsessively. I think that when you put good things out into the world, money comes. It's like a byproduct of that.
But let me tell you a funny story. Every month her credit card statement comes out. She goes, "Oh my God, somebody stole my credit card. Look how much they spent. Something happened."
The truth comes out.
I'm really serious. I'm like, someone actually did steal my credit card.
She's not saying that. She's dead serious. And we audit every time. I'm like, nope, that was you. So that's one of the downfalls of never looking at it, maybe.
And by the way, I appreciate hearing that. I actually think that if you set up your finances in my philosophy, you spend less than an hour a month looking at it. My nightmare, I told my wife this when we met, my nightmare is 10 years from now, we're sitting there every month auditing how much we spent on lettuce at Safeway. I don't want to live that life. What I do want to do is set some basic rules, right? And those rules can be things like save 10%, invest 20%. They can also be really permissive rules, like, hey, when I travel this distance, I want to fly business class. Or if my friends are doing a charity, I am always going to contribute, always, right? Or tipping X% minimum. Those are really nice rules we can set for ourselves. So I love that the part about not being in the weeds about money. I do think you should probably be aware of what's going on, and we can talk about that. But no, I actually think I always say a rich life is lived outside the spreadsheet. You do not want to be sitting there looking at every line for the rest of your life. That's just not a good use of time.
Michael grew up completely different than I did.
Well, I grew up, my parents were first generation they grew up hard upbringings, and they're the first generation of their families to do well for themselves. And so, and my dad's an entrepreneur, there's an emphasis always on working hard, being successful. And at the end of that rainbow is obviously a financial reward. So I grew up in a way where in the beginning of my career, my focus was money. How do I make more money? How do I regardless of what it took.
So when we started dating, it was money was such a big conversation. And I was like, what's happening? Because I didn't grow up like that.
I was the poster child for what douchebags do with money when they get money. Right?
Oh, wait, like what?
Yeah. Like you go into a nightclub, you're spending stupid money, you have a stupid watch, you're having this car.
Loves you.
I'm sitting there like with the most grumpy face, like just getting dragged through it.
I am glad I went through it though, because my relationship with money now is much different. We talked about a little, we can dive into it, but I don't use money anymore for any kind of external facing thing, right? I don't look at it as something that defines or represents me anymore.
What is it to you?
To me, it's a tool for owning more time, for having more autonomy, for giving a little bit more comfort, right? Like for providing for family. So and also for building businesses. I've realized like it's not really the money that's so enticing. It's the actual building and working with people and creating things. But it took me 10 years of beginning my career to figure that out, and 10 years for me to say like, okay, like this, and I had no understanding of what it really was.
I think our goal today, and we have 100 questions for you, is I think what Michael and my goal is with money to have, like he just said, autonomy. That's the most important thing to us.
Yeah, I hear that. Both of you mentioned money's a byproduct and you like to buy your time back, your convenience. Let me share a concept for everybody listening. We can start off with talking about what people love to do with their money. Right? This is a total reversal of what almost everybody experiences with money, which is what not to do. So if I were to ask the average person, this is a exercise that I do. I say, what do you love to spend money on? And everybody has an answer. They don't even need to wait. So the answer is, can you guess the most popular answer?
Travel? No.
Travel's up there, but it's not number one.
Car.
No way.
House.
No.
Materialism.
Maybe. It's eating out.
Oh.
They love to eat out. Okay, that's number one by far. Number two is travel.
Okay.
Number three is health and wellness, especially in LA or New York. And after that, it drops off a sharp cliff. You both have the same money dial I do. I call it a money dial because you can turn it way up or you can turn it down. Mine is convenience. So I have a personal assistant. If you go into my place, everything's like perfectly laid out. I could go blind. I know where everything is. I just love spending money on that. And it sounds crazy, right? I sound like a nut.
Not to me.
But exactly. To both of you, you're like, oh, I get it. Perfect. What I love to do then, so once they've told me I love to eat out, then I ask them this question. What if you could quadruple your spending on eating out or on that money dial? What if you could turn that dial up? So I remember I was on book tour in DC and I asked this young guy this. He said eating out. And people always have the same sort of, it's not that funny of an answer, but it's like a ha-ha joke. He goes, well, I guess I'd have to go on a diet because I'd be eating out 4 times a week. Ha ha ha. I go, okay, ha ha ha. But really. And he goes, you know what? I actually have a list of every Michelin star restaurant in the city. I said, okay, who would you take with you? And he gets really quiet. He goes, I would take my family. I said, why? He said, because they've never been able to afford to eat at places like that. That is a rich life. That is starting out with your money dial, the thing you love. And then for the first time in your life, actually envisioning what would it look like, feel like to spend more, to spend extravagantly on the thing I love. If I like to travel, awesome. Maybe I can take my family with me. Maybe I can take a friend. Maybe I can travel business class or order room service for the first time, whatever you want. And it's not just material things for yourself. A lot of people say generosity is their money dial. Fantastic. New rule. You're going to tip a minimum $20 everywhere you go. Whoa, that sounds crazy. Okay, then make it 10, whatever the number is. You can use this concept of money dials to start spending extravagantly on the things you love. And what that allows you to do is then to look at the rest of your spending and say, you know what, I'm going to cut costs mercilessly on the things I don't care about.
I have a quote. It's so funny you say that because one of the things I was going to ask you is like literally a quote. It says a rich life means you can spend extravagantly on the things you love as long as you cut costs mercilessly on the things you don't. Yeah. My question is, can you explain? And you just explain exactly.
Yeah,
that.
And I want people listening to get rid of the guilt. If, for example, you love spending on clothes, so many of us are raised in this culture to think that that's frivolous. I really don't give a shit if you think it's frivolous. If you love it, then let's talk about how to use your money to create that as part of your rich life. If you love convenience and you say like, I want everything color coded in my house, but people will think I'm a psycho. I don't care. It's your rich life. Your rich life is yours. It's not mine. It's not your parents. It's not anybody else's. So I want everybody to start thinking of how they can actually spend more on the things they love. And that totally changes the way we think of money. Suddenly, it's not a source of guilt and overwhelm and restriction, but now it's a source of, oh my gosh, I love to travel. And you're telling me I can actually do that guilt-free? Maybe even spend a little more? Oh, now I'm interested in money.
If you're busy and you value your time like me, then you're going to be obsessed with Prep Dish, especially if you're like Michael and I and you like to sit down for dinner with your family. We are trying to do no phone. We're trying to eat earlier, like 5 or 6 o'clock. And I feel like Prep Dish is perfect for anyone who's like that. So normally we're running around, it's hectic, it's crazy. Before you know it, it's 5 p.m. and you got to make dinner. For us, we decided that we wanted something that was more organized and something that helped us prep meals ahead of time. So Prep Dish is the best way for busy people to get healthy meals on the table without stress. Subscribers are going to receive an email every single week. I just got mine yesterday. And it's an organized grocery list with instructions for prepping meals ahead of time. I am not the best cook, but to have something in front of me that I can make and I can tell Michael what we're eating. Like they have these shrimp tostadas that he's obsessed with. We also tried their slow cooker sausage and kale soup. Like they have these shrimp tostadas that he's obsessed with. And they also have this slow cooker sausage and kale soup. We had his parents over. We all had it. It was absolutely delicious. And it was kind of like I did it all. It was very effortless. You know what I mean? I worked all day. I took care of the baby. And then dinner, it was on the table, ready to rock. Everyone was loving it. It was super quick, really easy every single day. They have tons of different meals. You can check them all out. They have meal plans. There's like this one called the super fast menu, and it requires only an hour to prep the whole week's food. That's the one I like. Okay, so Prep Dish and its founder, Allison, is offering all Skinny Confidential, him and her listeners, a free 2-week trial to try it out. You guys check out prepdish.com/skinny for this amazing deal. Again, that's prepdish.com/skinny for your first 2 weeks free. This is a no-brainer, and I'm telling you, you gotta try these shrimp tostadas. They're absolutely delicious, and you'll have dinner effortlessly on the table at 5 p.m.
A lot of what I think, what led me to your book and what led to these conversations is we didn't always have this relationship with money, right? But at one point it was a very stressful topic, at least for me, maybe not as much for Lauren, but it was like this thing that was overwhelming. And I remember a certain period of time, like I always focused on earning, but I never wanted to look at any of the accounts. I never wanted to face what was going on. Didn't want to look at any bills, just go. I think there's a lot of people that are in that position where it's like, this thing is so daunting. It's so overwhelming, at least in their minds right now, that they just don't address it. They don't look, they don't take it on. What can people do if they're in that position and they're like, okay, I have never thought about money. What is step one for these people when you start talking to like the money issues?
Well, first off, I understand the overwhelm and the confusion. So I recently I started a new podcast and I got some gear for my home office and I don't know, some sound equipment. I don't even know what it is. And it comes with this little instruction manual. It's like the size of the palm of my hand. It's like a child could read it. And I open it up and I have never been able to put IKEA furniture together. I just can't do it. So I'm sitting here looking at this thing. I'm flipping the 2.5 pages that it is. And I go, I can't figure this out. I'm doing it for 15 minutes. I cannot figure out what it's going on. And I thought to myself, oh my God, is this what people feel like when they look at money? You know, they see these words, asset allocation, and they're just like, I don't get this. Fuck it. I'm going to put this away and just go back to life. And I get that. We all have something in life that feels overwhelming, confusing, but we also have something in life where we feel really good about it, right? It could be you know how to cook, or you're good at fitness, or you're great at style, whatever. I would like people to really first start off by connecting with how you talk about something that you love. So if you have a dog, right? I don't have a dog. I don't want a dog. If my wife is listening to this, she desperately wants us to get a dog. Babe, I love you, but I don't want to get a dog.
Let me tell you something. As a married man, you're getting a dog.
So every time she brings up this dog, here's the first thing I bring up. Oh, we got to walk this dog and we can't travel and all this hair all over my sweaters, da da da. And she's like, yeah, okay, but we'll love him. But all I can do is think about the negative things. Now, if you have a dog, Again, you're listening to me saying this guy's a psycho. But everything I said is true. That dog is going to shed and it is going to be hard to walk and this and that. But you have decided to look at the positive. That's what I want you to believe is possible with money. So you're sitting here, you're overwhelmed. You feel like you don't understand all these acronyms. Fine. We'll take that step by step. What I find is that most people who feel overwhelmed with money have never spent one weekend reading a book about personal finance. Not one.
Are you looking at me? I've never read a book on personal finance. I'm a huge reader. I read 2 books a week. I've never read a book.
So I'm curious. First of all, no judgment. How come?
Because honestly, my husband's really damn good at it. And that's a horrible thing to say, but I'm being really honest. I should probably know myself. But it's not the first topic that jumps out to me when I get to spend my time reading.
Yeah, I get that.
But maybe I should. I'm going to read yours now.
Well, okay. I hope you do. I'll say this. I'll say 2 things about this. First, the husband comment.
I know.
Because when
so predictable.
Well, no, when I got married, my wife and I had some really challenging conversations about money. And I have to tell you, especially in couples where there's one person who's more sophisticated about money or more experienced, maybe is a higher earner, it's very easy for them to become the money person, right? And I think in any relationship, we naturally are stronger at certain things and he or she is naturally stronger at other things. So we kind of take on our roles. But I told my wife, I said, I don't want to be the only one. I don't want to be the money person in this relationship for a couple of reasons. One day, I'm not going to be here. I might get hit by a bus. Who knows what can happen? The worst thing in the world would be that you are sitting there now in grief and you have to figure out how this money thing works. That's number one. And then number 2, there's going to be a considerable amount of wealth here. I want you to feel comfortable to be a good steward of this money so that it's not just something that exists over there. It's like if the 2 of us go kayaking or something, you don't want to be the only one rowing. Both of you rowing in the same direction makes it more fun. You have some skin in the game and you're going towards a direction both of you want to go. And when I explained it like that, my wife was totally in. Like, yeah, okay. And that didn't make it easy. We still had to have a lot of challenging conversations. But I do think that money, unlike washing the dishes or something like that, is something that both partners should have at least some skin in the game on.
I 100% agree. And also, like, both, you nailed that on the head. Like, that's one of my fears now, especially because we have a kid. I'm like, I don't want you not to know what to do or where to go or where to find things. I don't want someone else stepping in telling you what to do. I want you to understand it. But the other part of that is I don't want to create a weird dynamic. Like for us, and this I'm not saying this should happen with every couple, but for us, like money's not necessarily an issue because we look at everything as like this collectively, it's completely equal. Like we're not saying like this is mine, this is yours.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything's on the board. I don't want to create a power dynamic, which I think happens in a lot of relationships where I do become the money guy, and it's like you have to come to me for the money and ask what you can spend and ask.
I don't feel like it's ever been like that. So maybe that's another thing why I make my own money. He makes his own money. What's mine is his. What's his is mine. So there's never, I don't think we've ever really gotten into a fight over money. So maybe that's why I haven't been pushed to read a book.
I'll challenge you on this. So it doesn't sound like that is really the issue. It sounds like you have been very successful. So it's not like you're fighting about how much can we spend at Target or something like that. So you've kind of checked the boxes on all the easy stuff. Now let's talk about not playing defense, but going on offense.
Yeah, that's what I need. That's why I need to read your book.
So watch this. The 2 of you right now, let's use the kayaking example, although I don't kayak at all. So this is going to be a horrible metaphor. So the 2 of you, you're rowing, you're not, but you're on a nice river and it's going really fast. So it's like pretty easy, right? Everything's good. Here's what I would say. I got to give up on this kayak metaphor because I don't know what the hell's going on. Let's just do this exercise together.
Okay.
Let's do it live right now. So in the next 10 years, what is on your bucket list? In the next 10 years, what's on your bucket list? And it can be for you each individually, and then maybe there's some overlap, some joint stuff as well. Let's try it.
My bucket list is I want autonomy. That's number one important thing.
What does that mean?
Meaning that I am able to wake up and set my day how I want to structure it entrepreneur-wise.
What time do you want to wake up?
7.
Okay.
I also want to be fluid. I don't want to stay in one house for my entire life. I want to be able to be like, oh, maybe we move here, maybe we go here. I don't want a predictable life. I want it to be spontaneous.
So in the next 10 years, which city do you want to have a house in?
I don't know that. I do know that I would want to be in a different city than we are now, just because I don't want to be attached to a city.
Great. By the way, I'm pushing and probing here because I want specifics. A rich life is all about the details. So when you say I want to wake up, when I want, I say, what time? You say I want to travel to Bali. I say, what airline seat do you want to sit in? I want that level of detail because that's a vivid, rich life. Anything else?
It'd be nice to have our own form of transportation.
No, I think
I'd love to travel I'd love to travel and do what I want to do when I want to do it.
So where do you want to go?
I don't know. Maybe we spend 3 months in Europe. Maybe we spend 3 months in Australia. I don't want like this predictable life. I want it to be very spontaneous.
So give me a number for how much you want to travel in a given year. 2 months?
I'd say 3.
I'd say 3.
Okay, love it. Now, don't worry, you're setting your own life goals. So if it changes and it's 1, fine.
But if I'm traveling and I want to wake up and I want to work that day, then I can do that too. I just don't want to have like a structured, predictable life.
Yeah, I can hear you. You like fluidity. You don't want to feel boxed in, and you want to construct a life around that fluidity. Love it. Okay. What about for your next?
Well, my bucket list things are a little bit more straightforward. Like I would like to be able to go when we travel. This is like, some people may not like this answer. I would like to be able to use any form of transportation that I want.
What does that mean?
Meaning if I want to fly private
or
if I want to go, no, I don't necessarily want a jet, but if I want to charter something or if I want to fly business with the kids, I want to be able to bring my family if I want to. I like the idea of dual locations. For me, it's all about like you said, comfort and convenience. I don't need to do things in a flashy way, even though like private transportation is flashy, but it's all about comfort, because lugging a bunch of kids on a plane through the airlines, especially now with everything that's going on, is an absolute fucking nightmare.
And by the way, notice that what you just said maps directly to your money dial, which is convenience.
Yes.
So it makes perfect sense.
I'd like to be able to, if we are traveled somewhere, I don't want to be constrained. Like we have to check in now and we have to leave now. If like something goes wrong, we feel like we need to stay, we could sit. It's not like
he loves convenience.
Yeah, it's comfort, right? Like there's some time, like when you're on a trip and you're like, damn, I wish I either want to leave early because it's not going, like it's not what I wanted, or I'm like, I'm really enjoying how I want to stay, but you got to get back because you have obligations. I want to be able to just go where I want, when I want, with comfort.
Okay, so when I moved to Austin, I really wanted to create a lot of wellnessy spaces around my house. I call them grounding stations. And one of those stations that I've shared on Instagram story is Higher Dose's portable sauna blanket. I am so into this, and I feel like the Skinny Confidential audience is going to be just as into this as I am. It is so easy to get hot and high from anywhere. So what you do is you lay down in this blanket, you turn up the heat, and you just sweat it out. And not only do I feel super rejuvenated and energized after I do it, I also found after doing my research, you guys, that you burn 600 calories in one sweat session. And just for your own knowledge, infrared therapy supports glowing skin, plumping skin, deeper sleep, and a balanced mood. And as your core temperature heats up, your brain releases a dose of happy chemicals. So that's why you feel, and I feel, that euphoric feeling after you get out. So I just feel like radiant, better energy, a boosted mood, decreased bloat. I'm all jazzed. The sauna blanket is absolutely insane. It's also affordable. It's so great if you want to do grounding and wellness stations in your home. For those who want to experience the benefits of infrared without the sweat, they also have a really cool infrared PMF mat that also recharges your cells, which makes you feel relaxed and grounded. Their stuff is amazing. It's like 20 pounds of healing crystals and amethyst for relaxing, restorative experience that you can feel within minutes. All of their stuff is something I would recommend our audience checking out. They get it. Get your own infrared sauna blanket or an infrared PEMF mat today at higherdose.com. You can use our promo code SKINNY at checkout and you save $75. That's higherdose.com, promo code SKINNY. Or just go to higherdose.com/skinny to get $75 off today.
You know, one of my friends told me about a trip he took to Australia, and he was there with his girlfriend, and they were in this beautiful area. They had an infinity pool and they were just loving it. And then that night they had to go to sleep early because they had to wake up, take a boat, then a bus to their next place. And he said to her, he said, what if we just don't? And she was like, what? And she really liked to go with the itinerary. And he was like, what if we just don't do that and just stay here for a couple more days? And I thought to myself, that's one of the ultimate luxuries in life, which is to change your decision on the fly.
Yes.
Right? And it sounds like both of you would love to be able to do that. Okay, so we've done this bucket list rich life exercise, and I heard a few things. What I would do, I did this with my wife, and we sat down and we had some interesting things. You know, my wife said she wants to learn another language in the next 10 years. And I said, I want to write another book at a really nice hotel, right? That's just something I want to do. So we had these independent things. And then we had a couple that we want to do together. One of them was we were inspired by some of our friends who had a 10-year wedding anniversary in another country. And we thought, wow, we love celebrating. We need to celebrate more. We want to have a 10-year wedding anniversary. So we said, okay, that's a big rich life item for us. Let's share that jointly. And so we then said, okay, I asked my wife, how much do you think that's going to cost? Total ballpark. And she was kind of uncomfortable because she didn't know the numbers. I said, you know what? Let's each just come up with our own number and then let's just compare. So she came up with a number. My number was like 5 or 10 times higher. and that's fine, right? In a relationship, you might have one person who dreams bigger or has bigger numbers. That's okay. And I said, look, this is going to be like multiple years from now. We have lots of time to save and invest for it. And if we're going to go with any number, let's go with the bigger number, right? Let's just do that. Let's dream big. So what we did was we then took that number and we knew that it's going to be, you know, approximately 8 years from now. And we put that into our financial system. So this is a big goal. Like for you, it would be like flying private. Okay. So what I might say for both of you is, how many times a year do you want to fly private? Let's just make up a number here.
I have a number.
Okay.
8. But that's also, it's not 8. It's not 8.
Wow, you've been thinking about that.
It's not 8.
It flowed right off the tongue.
It's not 8. It's 4 round trip. So,
fine.
So 8 legs.
Great. How much ballpark does it cost?
Well, I think that's the thing. It depends on, I've done some research. It depends if you're going light jet.
Just pick a number.
Let's just say it costs, and I don't want to overwhelm people. Let's just say round trip or anywhere domestically in the US, you're talking 30K.
Okay, 30K. So 30K times 4, 120.
Yeah.
All right, fine. So
maybe let's just call it 150 to be like, it's a huge number.
Great. Okay, great. Now, for everyone listening, by the way, if you're like, oh my God, 150, this is so unrelatable. Pick a number that is.
And keep in mind, this is the 10-year, like this is the 10-year map. This is not today. You know?
Totally. It could be, I want to eat at a really nice restaurant once a year.
But
and
also,
not have to
why
look
not
at it.
just dream? Like, why not think big? My thing is, no matter if you're listening, if I used to be a bartender. If I was a bartender, I'd be thinking like in these terms too.
Yeah.
But
think big.
But hold on, there was a period in my life, I want to remind, that like the goal was maybe I can fly business. Like, so these goals get bigger and bigger.
Yeah. And it's okay. I love both of what you're saying. First of all, if you're in debt, most people who are in debt, when I ask them what's their rich life, their answer is, I just want to get to zero.
Sure.
It's not inspiring at all. But when you feel like you're underwater, you just want to be able to breathe. But you also, listening to this podcast, I hope is inspiring rather than depressing. Because look, you don't have to fly 8 times a year private, but maybe for you, it's one time in your life, business class, or maybe it's eating at a restaurant that you love and it's like the best meal, right? Omakase, whatever it is. I want to push people to think a little bigger. It is so easy when I ask people their rich life. You know what they say? They go, I'd like to have a house one day. It doesn't have to be that big. It doesn't have to be in a nice, it's fine. And I'm like, why are you minimizing your dreams? Tell me the beautiful vision, and then we can figure out if you can get there. And maybe you can't get 100% there. Maybe you can get 80% there.
Well, it's like, let me think of an example here. When someone's like, how much money do you want to think? I want to be a billionaire. But it's like before, like okay, let's focus on 100
Yeah,
grand
I always
first.
tell them like, okay, how much do you have now? They're like, I have $100. Why don't you focus on 1,000?
Like when we started this podcast, Lauren and I started it out of our living room, out of our kitchen. We thought it'd be great if like one day we can get 10,000 listeners. Like one day we could do that. And it'd be great if we can maybe make a little bit of money doing this on the side. It's obviously grown like over the years to this and then this network. But I want to remind everybody that like some of these big visions that I have now, like there was a period of time where I'm like, man, if I could make $10,000 a month, if I can make $5,000, like they started much, much smaller. And during that time when I was learning my relationship with money, that was probably a line. It's like, how do I make it so I'm never in debt? And like, I think it wasn't like when I started my career, I was like, I need to fly in a huge private jet. And like, that's still my, like a 10-year vision. And it's mostly like, I would never want to take a jet by myself. But I think now that I have children and the craziness of travel in the world and a wife and like the chaos of lugging infants around, like to me, it's just a convenience thing where it's like jump in a car.
I love it. I love a big vision. So for everyone listening, like when I grew up, we were very middle class. We ate at a pizza place once every 6 weeks with a coupon. And there were places in our town, I was like, that place isn't for people like me, right? We don't go in there. And I have disabused myself of that now. If there's something I see that's interesting to me, I'm like, if I wanted to, I could get that. I could work hard. I may not be able to afford it or get it or have the time or whatever, but no more do I think that's not for me. I say, that's interesting. I'm going to check it out. And if I want it, I'll find a way to get it.
I also think people tell themselves a story and they have this narrative. What you just said, it's like, oh, I can't eat there. That's not for people like me. I think that you should flip it and say, when I eat there, or I'm going to eat there. I think the way that you think really, really can control a lot.
Yeah. The way we talk about ourselves. So back to the private jet example or whatever rich life thing it is for you. What we did then to make it a reality and to make both partners engaged with money was we said, okay, that's going to cost, I don't know, 100K a year, 150, whatever. How much do we need to be saving each month in order for that to happen? So now you both have a reason to take at least 15 minutes a month and say, how are we doing towards our rich life goal, which both of us feel really good about? That is the way you get both partners on the same page. Now, if you're listening to this and you're not going to have this big of a goal, fine. Here's what I'd recommend. Pick a place you want to go in the next 6 months with your partner, your friend, or even by yourself. It could be a restaurant, it could be vacation, whatever. Pick a number of how much it's going to cost, right? Be conservative with the number so you're not on vacation and you're having to check every single price of everything, and start saving towards it. Automate your money. Use the chapter 5 of my book. And whether you're putting $100 a month aside, 500, 5,000, whatever the number is, now you have something motivating you to actually want to engage with your money every month.
So let's talk about that for a minute and maybe like get pretty tactical here. So a lot of what your book and other books did for me was taught me how to think about managing money, what to invest, what to save, what to set aside, like if I'm working towards a goal, like what that looks like. But I think so many people, again, they're sitting there, maybe they have a bunch of credit card debt, maybe they're not saving at all, maybe they're going paycheck to paycheck. Yeah. What are the tactical things that, when you're starting out that you can do to start putting yourself in a better position to either earn more, save more, afford more?
So part of it is getting your financial infrastructure right. I'll name names because I found this useful. I used to watch Oprah, and Oprah would tell us, her favorite cars and this and that. And I just want to know what Oprah likes because I trust Oprah. So I'll just tell you the accounts that I use and the ones I like and the ones I don't. I'm not, by the way, partnered with any of these companies at all. So I think getting your financial infrastructure in place is the step one. So that is, your money should be flowing into your checking account, which is like your email inbox. And for that, I use a Schwab account, right? Again, I'm being very tactical so you know exactly what I use. From there, you set up automation so that part of it goes towards saving. And there are lots of great savings accounts. There's Ally, Marcus, there's a whole bunch. They're basically commodities at this point. Part of your money is drawn out automatically and it goes to an investing account. Lots of great investment accounts like Vanguard is where I use.
We use Fidelity.
Yeah, they're great. There's lots of low cost ones. I don't like these day trading bullshit apps that are out.
We're going to talk about that.
Okay. All right. And by the way, the banks I hate, Bank of America, I hate you. Wells Fargo, I also hate you. They are predatory. Do not use these banks. I don't care if your mom and dad opened your account at 13. Get out. There's also sub-savings goals. So remember, a lot of, you always hear people, you got to save more. You got to save more. For what? Why am I saving? Nobody ever talks about that. Here's the answer. You're saving for your trip to Thailand. You're saving for perhaps a down payment on a house. You're saving for this great dinner, this huge dinner with your whole family. There are sub-savings accounts you can set up and it automatically flows. And then at the end pops out, your fixed expenses, your rent, mortgage, whatever, and also your guilt-free spending. So under my automation system, when you go out to a restaurant, you never have to feel guilty because you already know Your savings are already taken care of. Your investments are already taken care of. And you know exactly how much you can afford to spend here guilt-free.
I am wearing, currently podcasting, my Beta brand dress pant yoga pants.
I am looking cute in my loungewear thanks to them. I cannot get enough of their black pants. I am telling you, they come in other colors, but I am a fan of the black. I am still in the midst of losing some baby weight, so they hold me in, but they're also comfortable like pajamas. So you feel like you're looking professional. If I want to go in the studio, record a couple of podcasts, I feel put together, but then I can go home, lounge around, and watch Siesta Keys. They're honestly the most comfortable pants for work from home.
They're comfortable. You don't feel like you need to unbutton them and let everything hang out. They're for the busy woman who's out there that wants to look great but doesn't have time to deal with uncomfortable, annoying buttons sticking into her stomach or her legs. You get it. You guys know what I'm talking about. They have all different kinds of fits, of colors, of styles. They have boot cut, straight leg, skinny, cropped, 8-pocket, and more. Today I have on the straight legged. I'm about it. I also have a lot of the pairs of the skinny.
Their whole mission combines workwear with sort of like PJs. So you're getting this functional, comfortable pant. Their Just Pant yoga pants, and this is my favorite thing, are made with wrinkle-resistant stretch knit fabric. So I'm not a fan of washing my pants every day. Like, just let's lay it out there. So the wrinkle-resistant stretch knit is highly important. Women everywhere are loving these pants. You guys are DMing me about them. People like the fit.